Hey everybody, how's it going? It's a Daily Shooter, and I'm back out here in the desert today taking a look at this Rock Island Armory M1911 A2FS. This is a very nice, standard, entry-level 1911. You know, there's a lot of people out there who don't get into 1911s because they are, and they can be, very, very expensive. This is Rock Island Armory's entry-level. There's nothing super fancy about it, no big bells or whistles. It has standard sights, standard hammers, standard beaver tail. But it's still very accurate, surprisingly reliable. And there is one thing about this that, if you ask me, kind of sets it aside from a lot of other 1911s that are on the market. This one right here is a double stack. So for you people in free states, that means you can have a 1911 45 ACP with a magazine that sits flush in the grip like this that holds 13 rounds of 45. 13 rounds of 45 that sits flush. To me, that's fantastic. I don't live in a free state. I live in the state of California, unfortunately. So my magazines are only 10 rounds, but still 10 rounds in a 1911, a 45 ACP, without having the magazine extend super far out of the gun is fantastic. You know, I've got some other 1911s. You put in a 10 round magazine and it kind of sticks out like 2.5 inches from the bottom of the gun, 3 inches from the bottom of the gun. You can even buy 15 round magazines and they look ridiculous. They stick out, you know, this far, and it's just, you know, it's annoying, okay? It's annoying to have this big magazine that sticks out that's that long. Well, here, again, you have these magazines that are kind of short, standard, kind of like pistol size magazine, almost like Glock size magazines, and they sit nice and flush, and they give you a good amount of ammunition. So you get better capacity, and yes, the grip is a little bit wider, and I'll show you the grip in just a second here. We're gonna do some shooting, and then we'll go ahead and we'll take this to the table. The grip is a little bit wider, but for some reason, I feel that it's actually more comfortable. And I only have like medium-sized hands. My hands are not super big at all. I have like medium-sized hands, and it fits really good. One thing that I actually noticed is, and I'll see if I can show you this here before we go to the table. One thing that I noticed is, versus my other single stack 1911s, this one right here actually allows me to drop the magazine without really changing my grip. For the other ones, I have to actually change these grips right here in order to get it slim enough where I can actually reach that. So that's one nice thing. So let's go ahead and shoot it. I'll show you guys exactly how well this thing functions. And I gotta tell you, it's been flawless so far. And then we'll go ahead, we'll go back, we'll take a closer look at it on the table. Okay, now that we've gone over the pistol a little bit, we've done some shooting with it, let's go ahead and take a closer look and we'll go over some more specific details. Now, as you can see, when you buy it, it does come in a pretty nice hard plastic case here. I know for some people that's not super important, but I think that it does help with resale value, and it is lockable, so if you don't want to buy an extra case, you can use this and transport with it. It's a pretty nice, thick, hard plastic case. Now, let's go ahead and open this thing up, and I'll show you guys exactly what it comes with here. Now, as you open it up, you can see we have our 1911, which has one magazine already in the pistol, and we have an extra magazine outside of the pistol. So it does come with 2 magazines. Now, if you live, again, in a free state, this is going to come with a higher capacity magazine. I believe it's either 13 or 14 rounds of double stack 45 ACP. In the state that I live in, which is California, we are limited to 10 rounds. So we have 10 rounds in a double stack magazine. Still sits nice and flush to the bottom of the pistol. And as you can see, it's surrounded by some pretty nice high density foam. And that's going to offer you a lot of protection, especially if you're traveling with it. It's cut out pretty nice so this thing doesn't move around. Now, in the top of the case here, and I'll try and move this so you guys can see it. In the top of the case, remove this foam right here. You can see that we have our spent shell casings. We have our instruction and owner's manual, and then some other important information that you can see right there as well, and that's located in the top of the case. There's nothing else in the bottom of the case. One thing to note is when I got this, there was no barrel bushing tool, which I don't think is really all that important given the fact that I could actually do this particular one right here with just my thumb pushing in that bushing. So it is possible to do this one without a tool. However, I do have some other tools. Now, before we take this thing out of the case, I want to note one thing. Even though this is a double stack 10 round magazine and not the higher capacity magazines that you can get with different models, I do want to point out the difference between this magazine right here that's double stacked and another 10 round magazine that I have for my other 1911s, a Wilson Combat 10 round magazine, so you guys can actually see the difference in length between a 45 double stack and a 45 single stack. That's the difference. Both of those magazines right now have 10 rounds of ammunition in them, and you could see which one is longer. Now, another thing that I'd like to point out is how much it kind of sticks out of the bottom of the gun. So here you can see this one sits flush with the bottom of the gun. The Wilson Combat, you can see there's a little notch tool right here. This little notch actually sits up against the frame of the 1911 single stack, and this is how much sticks out of the bottom. So you can see right there that there's actually a pretty big portion of the magazine that sticks out of the bottom. And if you want to go more than 10 rounds, let's say 15 rounds or so, it sticks even further out to the back. So it's just, they're cool, and I like it, but it's definitely not as convenient as these double stacks right here. They're just much smaller, easier to use, more like a Glock magazine. Okay, so let's go ahead and take out the pistol here, and we'll go ahead and we'll talk a little bit more about it. I've been shooting this for about 6 weeks now, and I have had a really good experience with it. So if you want, basically, I guess my overall opinion on this thing so far, just as kind of like a short and condensed video version, I would say that absolutely yes, I recommend this pistol. So for 6 weeks, I've been shooting it quite a bit. I've been using all Armscore ammunition, 230 grain, 45 ACP ball ammunition, and I have had zero issues. As a matter of fact, zero malfunctions, and I have not cleaned this, and I never cleaned it when I got it out of the box. You know, one of the things that they say to do is to make sure that you clean it, you lubricate it before you take it out for your first time shooting it, and it's going to take like 500 rounds to break it in. I didn't do any of that. I didn't clean it. I just took it out of the box, shot it, and haven't had any problems. So really cool. Now, like I said before in the very beginning of this video, this is just a basic 1911. It has standard GI sight, standard GI hammer, standard GI trigger. It doesn't have any serrations in the front. It has plastic grips and a standard beaver tail safety. Okay, so there's nothing super fancy about it, but it works, and it's under $500. So, you know, again, I'm really impressed with the fact that it's double stack for under $500, and it's extremely accurate. You know, one of the things I really like about this pistol is the fact that even with the standard GI trigger, it's still got a really nice, crisp, clean trigger, something you expect out of a 1911, and it is very accurate. As a matter of fact, the barrels fit in there pretty well. The barrel is a 5-inch barrel, so standard size barrel. And before I show you guys anything else here, let's go ahead and just make sure this is safe. So we're going to remove our magazine. Nothing in that magazine right there. Let's go ahead and inspect the chamber. And now we're going to go ahead and make sure that everything looks nice and clear. Okay, safe direction. Okay, so this is a safe pistol now. Now, as we take a look at this right here, and one thing that I want to show you, and I'm standing kind of off to the other side, so just for those people that are kind of safety Nazis, I am not pointing this at my face. I'm standing on the other side of the camera. So you can see right here, the barrels actually fit pretty well. Everything's nice and solid. The lockup is good, you know, and the thing is, there's like very, very little wiggle. It's not super tight like a lot of other high-end ones where you're going to pay, you know, more than $1,000. But it is still really nice and a lot tighter than some other ones that I've seen for, you know, about this same price category. Now you can actually see this is the original factory lubrication that's still on there. I never wiped it off. I never did anything. This is just that kind of heavy oil that they put on the gun for transportation and to keep it nice and basically to keep the finish safe while it's, you know, being transferred back and forth. Now, one thing to note is the weight of this particular gun. It's heavier than other 1911s because it's double stack. The unloaded weight of this gun is just below 40 ounces. It's actually 39, I think 0.52 ounces, so 39.5 ounces. It is fairly heavy. And then you put 10 rounds or 13, 14 rounds, whatever the case is for you, of 45 ACP in there, and it's even heavier than that, obviously. So it's got some good weight to it, but one of the things that I like is with that weight comes easier to manage recoil impulse. So that's something that I think is really nice. You get this really nice heavy gun out there, and for those small shooters, those people that think, oh, I can't shoot a 45, you get a heavy gun like this, it's a lot more easy to control than some of the lighter options, more compact options that are on the market. This one definitely feels much nicer than shooting a compact 1911. Those are a little bit more snappy than this for sure. So anyway, and now that we've taken a look at the weight, let's go ahead and take a look at the width here. The width is something that is definitely, it takes a little bit of time to get used to. It really does. But when you get your hand around it and you get a good grip on this thing, you realize how nice it does actually feel. I would say for somebody with small hands, maybe not, but if you have medium and medium to large hands, then yeah, definitely. And I just want to show you as like a quick comparison. Again, here's that Wilson Combat magazine. Let's go ahead and slip this thing in there so you guys can actually see the difference. Okay, so that's the difference in the magazine height. Obviously, it's double stacked, so you're going to have rounds side by side. But I think just as like a visual representation of what that actually looks like right there, you can see a single stack in that magazine area. It's exactly half the size of the double stack magazine for obvious reasons. Now, my final thoughts on this pistol are great. I have had no problems with it whatsoever. I know 6 weeks isn't a long time before doing this review, but still I've had enough time to put a bunch of rounds downrange, and I haven't had a single malfunctions. No problems to feed, no problems ejecting. I've had no malfunctions whatsoever. The magazines are great. I believe these are Metgar magazines. I'm not 100% sure on that, but they are really nice magazines, good anti-tilt followers that seem to feed really well. It's an all-steel gun. It's going to last you forever. You know, this is one of those lifetime guns that you can hand down to your kids one day, and that's another thing that I like about it. You know, it has the longevity to it that standard 1911s do. All steel, the parts last forever, and it's just going to be a great gun to have in your collection, especially for under $500. You're not really risking much, but you're getting, I think, a lot of value out of a gun like this. You know, there's a lot of higher end guns out there that do the exact same thing, but you're spending upwards of $800. And, you know, a lot of people just can't justify that. And if you're looking to get into competition and you want something that's got a good sight radius, 5-inch barrel, great sight radius on this thing. The sights are a little bit low, but you can always have those upgraded. And if you wanted to add like an extended flared magwell, you can do that. There is a small flare in this magwell that will help and assist you with feeding. And because these are standard magazines instead of regular single stack magazines, you can see that there is kind of an angle to the magazine, which helps you feed as well. And I think that's kind of a nice feature. So you can always upgrade things as you go if you want to get in for cheap and just start competing. 45 will definitely knock down those steel targets that are downrange and maybe save you some time on that particular stage. So for somebody that's in competition. For home defense, again, you're looking at double stack. 10 rounds of 45 is going to really do you well. You put in some good hollow point self-defense ammunition, you definitely have a good self-defense and home defense gun. It is a little bit heavy. I wouldn't consider this as a concealed carry gun, even though I do know some guys carry 1911s. I just don't know how they do it myself. Nonetheless, I think it's a good home defense gun. You want to add a rail on there, you can definitely do that and then put a flashlight on it, make it a good home defense gun. Nonetheless, the Rock Island Armory A2, M1911 A2. This is the full-size version. Thank you all very much for watching. I really appreciate it. Please like, subscribe. Have a great day.